We've got loads of social media questions that have come in this week, but I'm just going to rattle through a couple of them. The first one, Will Got Gamers tweeted in, with CVC's investment into Six Nations pushing for more money from broadcasters and making it potentially out of reach for terrestrial TV, is there a danger that some investors aren't looking at the good of the game and growing the sport and are looking to double their money quicker?
There's a lot of debate around this, and I tweeted yesterday...
No.
Yes, an article that Rugby Pass did. Then I revoked my tweet.
No, never delete a tweet.
Yeah, well, I just
stick with it, Jem.
Yeah,
what you believe in, just go with it.
I put something funny around it, saying that who was going to commentate, as in that's all I thought was important. But then a lot of people saying to me, but they're going to have to dig deep to put their hands in their pockets for subscription service around it, and I understand that, but the day and the age that we live in, unfortunately, for other sports that I want to watch, UFC being a big one, you have to pay for Sky, you have to pay for BT, and then now you have to pay for a pay-per-view on top of that. Boxing's exactly the same, football the same. So, unfortunately, I don't agree with it. I think that it should be free. I think that watching sport should be free, or at least one subscription that you should pay for, and then you get access to it all. But that isn't the world that we live in. Netflix, you've got to pay for that. And I don't really watch much Netflix, but I pay for it.
Yeah,
because
you do.
I don't watch loads.
You always say, have you watched this? Doesn't he? Doesn't he
Yeah,
always
he does,
say,
yeah.
have you watched this on Netflix? Every week there's something.
Well, I don't get my £5 worth a month. That's all I know.
It's $11.99 now.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Mate, it's stealing it.
If you look at like the Southern Hemisphere, they need the television rights to actually fund it, for the money. They need it. Do you guys actually need it over here?
That's the big question. Now, we don't know the ins and outs of what's being talked about, and there's always a sensational headline. I've messaged the guy at Sky and, basically saying, is there a job? And, of course, there's going to be a balance to it. As the game is growing and, all the people, like you said, when you sum it up as eloquently as James Hamilton just did, you talk about, you want to watch Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder, you got to pay for it. Or you don't watch it live and you catch up later. And, this is the world we're in. Netflix, again.
American sports.
American sports are like that. Now, do we agree with it? Or do we have to just go with it because that's what's happening? I think the big thing is that CVC are involved and people are worried about what they're trying to do. And this isn't necessarily me or Jim. This is the average punter. Are they just going to try and monetize it as much as possible and then rip the money out? And as private equity funds do, they did it with Formula One, etc., etc. They're in it to make money, and there's this whole thing about sport is emotion as well. So there's a balance between, your Joe Public on the street who wants to watch the Six Nations. The Premiership rugby is behind a paywall. You have to have BT Sport. It's not on. There's some games on terrestrial, but if you're a dedicated fan, there is now an expectation of it. So you're going to lose people if it goes behind a paywall. Of course you are. But trying to grow the game and growing the game in terms of numbers terrestrial on TV is one thing, but growing the game, funding the game, and we've all seen wages have gone up and the cost of everything, and every sport, Premier League football, is driven by the money that comes in through TV rights around the world.
Mainly.
And that's but it wouldn't be what it is without that.
Where's the money?
So it goes hand in hand, sponsorship and everything like that. The sponsorship of the Six Nations, Guinness, what sponsors were paying 5-10 years ago, the sponsorship deal's not as big now, for one reason or another. Negotiation and everything that's happened around the world in terms of disposable finance for companies. So sponsorships drop. So you have to find revenue ways of making that up, and potentially that's what it is. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I watch all sorts of sport. I've got Sky, I've got BT, I've got Netflix, Amazon Prime, all these things, and that's because that's my decision. But where we're going in the world of watching live sport and everything like that, unfortunately, that's the way it seems to be going.
The issue you've got is around growing the game, and they're the interactions that I've seen online. There was a really interesting one that I saw around Wales. Now, the demographic of Wales live for rugby. Having been there last Thursday, it's the heartbeat of the country, especially now that they've lost a little bit of industry. Now, without stereotyping, the whole of Wales is paying for a subscription service is too much money. So what they live for at the weekends is, especially when the Guinness Six Nations is on, is watching rugby. So how are they going to do that if actually they've got to pay for the subscription, which is probably going to have to be for the year, not just for the Six Nations? Is it's going to come at a big cost. Like, paying for Sky is expensive. You know what I mean? It's a lot of money. Like, you look at it, you look at your direct debits that come out. There's a lot of money involved, and then on top of that, like mentioned, like you got the BT Sport to get the Prem. If you want to watch the Guinness Pro 14, you've got to get Premier TV. And then if you want everything on top, so everyone's so used to having access to rugby for free, which is obviously lovely, but the world we live in, the vulgarities of it, unfortunately, it is money, money, money.